of course, because you want to be here for the next speaker. Because this guy that's coming up, I tell you what, he brings the fire. What does he bring? Say it with me. The fire. That's right. Our next presenter, I think really what sets him apart from other speakers, from other activists, is the passion that he brings to the table. And you know what? That passion is contagious. So I want to encourage each and every one of you to take some notes on the way that he communicates, the way that he holds himself, the way he presents himself, because he's doing a lot to awaken that within other people. And what we're trying to do here at this event is awaken that within each and every one of you. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for David Rodriguez. Woo!
How many of you can feel the uncertain and yet exciting energy on the earth right now? Yes? And how many of you would like to talk about the solutions for success for your reset? Yes? Excellent. My name is David James Rodriguez. So excited and honored to be with you. The title of my talk is Voluntary Living, the Path to Victory. I believe we are going to win, and it's a beautiful time to be alive. Before I get into the content, I do want to thank the organizers. So hold your applause. I want to acknowledge some people. First of all, Derek, Miriam, John, Rebecca, Myra, the sponsors, and you, the attendees. Because without you guys, this is an empty room, and nobody's watching online. So let's give it up for everybody, including yourself, for making this thing happen. It's a co-creation here. And so by the end of my talk today, you will learn why and how the good people are going to win. You're going to learn discover a moral code that is consistent, and you're going to learn the two fundamentals of voluntary living, 5 steps for victory, intentional neighborhoods, and some opportunities to work with me. Is this something you're interested in? Excellent. Because we're going to spend a little bit of time together, is it okay if I share a little bit about myself? Thank you. My name is David James Rodriguez. I'm principal of Valor Academy. I do early high school graduation to get the children out of the school system. I'm also a homeschool coach. I run a group of 3,000 members on Facebook, Homeschool Leader, Raising Moral Leaders. I published a book by John Taylor Gatto, The Underground History of American Education, the world-famous school teacher, and I'm the director of the Gatto Movement, which is an acronym, which means Get All the Thinkers Out of Forced Schooling. Yeah, Gatto. And I'm the host of Freedom Lovers Show and another show called Voluntary Living, and I sold my first business at age 26. So now back to you. Is it okay if I ask you a very important question? How do you determine right from wrong? Do you have a moral code? What is it? This is the silence that I get mostly when I'm talking to parents and talking to adults out there in the world. And I realize the school system was one of the big things that I'm passionate about, but then I realized there's a moral crisis happening. So this audience is pretty awake and conscious of morality, and many of the people watching online, but I've noticed if the society that we're living in, the world, doesn't know right from wrong, as we saw with the whole pandemic, forcing people with drugs and not giving freedom of choice, that's where the real problem is. And so this is part of the work that I do, is to help have this conversation, because we have to change the words that are coming out of our mouth. So this is the 2 steps I want to share about voluntary living, because it's so simple. One of the reasons I believe we're going to win, because any fool can complicate a matter, but it takes a real genius to simplify one. And so that's what I've been focused on. It's like, what's the core of what we're doing here? I've been attending freedom events for the last maybe 8 or 9 years, and every time I go there, I'm like, oh, okay, like where's the excited guy? Where's the positive, enthusiastic guy? And after going to so many events, I realized I'm the guy. Because I was an athlete, we had coaches and strategies, and when you're on a good team, you get excited. And I come to the events, I say, this is a team, guys. We're the ones we've been waiting for. And then I realize it's an energetic thing, it's a conscious thing, because I went to public school. How many guys went to public school? That's right. And so did I. So I have all this programming, all this statism inside of me. And I heard someone mention the word indoctrination earlier, and that's true. The state school system is a slave training camp, indoctrination for statism. However, as mothers and fathers and parents and uncles and grandparents, we have a doctrine. And for me, the doctrine is voluntary relationships, a.k.a. voluntary living, a.k.a. voluntarism. So the two concepts that I think people should need to focus on is, number one, how many of you guys own your body? Let me say that again. How many of you guys own your body? Okay, everybody in the room, I hope everybody online as well. This is a fundamental question that I never heard, because the root of freedom, or the foundation of freedom, is property rights. So this whole thing with injecting poisonous, or let's just say suspicious chemicals into your body violated the fundamental principle of freedom. And because we're not taught this in the school system, nobody knew this. So that's number one. We must acknowledge the truth of self-ownership. For 100% fact, that's the body that you're living in right now. And this is my body, for sure, 100%. We don't need any evidence other than the self-evidence that we see right now. We don't need any peer-reviewed studies. We don't need any legislation, anything. It is evident. Number one, acknowledge that truth. Number two is I recognize that you own your body too. So this is called respect for self-ownership. I heard it earlier. Someone said the non-aggression principle. I appreciate that. There's also do no harm. I heard from someone else as well. So in essence, there's two principles. One is self-ownership, you own your body, and respect for self-ownership. So rather than being on the, against slavery, we're pro-freedom. We're pro-self-ownership. We're pro-morality. We stand for something. So this is some of the key points to focus on. So those are the two fundamentals of voluntary living. And I'm shocked because there's a word called democide. How many of you guys have heard of democide? How many have not heard of democide? Democide is death by government. Out of the University of Hawaii, this researcher studied the mass deaths over the last 100 years of the 20th century, and he discovered that governments have mass murdered over 160 million of their own citizens, not including war. And some estimates go over to 230 million. And I wonder, how come that word is not in our lexicon? Because they've been hiding this information, and now the internet, the podcast, decentralization, the cat's out of the bags, ladies and gentlemen. The truth is out. Government is organized crime, as ATN has been teaching. It's intergenerational. It's illegitimate. How many guys have heard of the essay or read the essay from 1870 titled The Constitution of No Authority? How many have not read it? Okay, that is your homework for tonight if you choose to. This is all voluntary, okay? This essay from 1870, here's the crux of the matter. You're not bound to a contract that you didn't sign. And your parents and grandparents can't obligate you to a contract. Therefore, the Constitution has no authority. And I know that's a big blow, because I was raised in a very small town in Northern California, and I pledged allegiance to the flag, and I was a patriot, and Ron Paul was championing the Constitution. I said, yes, let's get back to the Constitution. And then I read this document, and turns out the Constitution has no authority because a valid agreement requires two consenting parties with full disclosure of the terms. I said, this is interesting. Man, what an exciting time to be alive. Then I read the book by Murray Rothbard titled For a New Liberty. Because once you start exploring the idea that government's illegitimate, you say, well, what about safety? What about the roads? What about national security? These are some of the concerns we have, yes? Yes. All right, I'm going to need you guys to increase some of your energy here, okay? This is a conversation. This is not a television here, okay? What happens is that we're going to need a lot of energy. You want to build a voluntary world, we got to crank it up. So I'm the guy, shake it up, loosen it up, because when I ask a question, you guys can respond. Number one, because it's fun and engaging. Number two, it increases learning and increases memory retention. What's going to happen here in 2 or 3 days, you guys are going to go back to your respective homes, and you might be alone. So I invite you to consider meeting new friends here and reaching out and getting out of your comfort zone. Because if you haven't discovered, you are the ones you've been waiting for. There is nobody coming. It is us, and that's fine. Thanks for Derek and John and Freedom Cells and the Exit and Build strategy. This stuff is happening, and we are the ones. So just a slight reminder on that one. Okay, so those are the two fundamentals of voluntary living, and let's talk about the 5 steps for victory. So I mentioned exit and build. You guys heard about exit and build. Phenomenal philosophy, which I think I came across during the pandemic. We were having bonfires out on the beach on Santa Cruz, California, the super leftist statist county. Beautiful beach, but terrible government. They shut down the churches, the cafes, the bars, the restaurants. You couldn't go anywhere. So you know where we went? We went to the beach, and we had a bonfire, and I called it the Voluntary Solutions Bonfire, because everybody comes to the bonfire. We have food and music and a band, all this positive energy, and then they come dump all their problems on this great energy that we created here. So then we have this fire, and they start dumping all their problems from mainstream news on this fire, and I say, excuse me, friend, I'll let you go for 30 seconds, but do you have any solutions? Because again, anybody can come up with the problem. It takes a real champion and a visionary to come up with a solution. And that's what this whole event is. So give it up for yourself for being here. This is a solutions event. This is what's happening. One of the most diabolical things I've come across is a guy named Edward Bernays. He wrote a book called Propaganda and Crystallizing Public Opinion. And then I just discovered in the last month, he wrote an essay titled Engineering Your Consent. Or Engineering of Consent. It's 1955. The book is worth like $500 on the internet, so I don't have the book, but you can go take a look at the essay that he wrote. These guys are so psychopathic, they're like, okay, freedom of speech is lawful and legal, right? So we're going to use that to manipulate them, and Bernays is the guy who taught women that smoking is women empowerment, and also the bacon and egg stuff, and all these different things, and breakfast and cereal and milk in the morning. That was engineering our consent. So if consent is the most important thing in a relationship, right, would you agree consent's very important? Yes. So they're engineering our consent, and that's what's diabolical. However, in Santa Cruz, when we were doing the bonfire, 70 of them in a row, the public health officer tried to shut down the beach, and she's on video. She says, I was hoping to keep the beaches closed, but the people are not willing to be governed anymore. And they reopened their boats. Give it up for not being governed anymore. Amazing. On video. And another funny thing about statism, first of all, let me give definition. Statism is the idea that the state has a higher authority over your body and property than you do. Isn't that a crock of baloney that these organizations, right? So this is the conversation they have. I know some of the constitutional friends who I love, and I go to some meetings where I'm at now, and they stand up and they pledge allegiance to the flag. God bless their souls. So you know what I do? I just sit in my chair like this. I say, man, God bless these people. I hope they're okay. There's psychological warfare here. They're not bad people. They just haven't discovered that they are the supreme owner of their body. You can believe in God, and that's maybe God owns your body too, but for sure the self-ownership principle is a key concept that a lot of people don't realize. So disobeying these criminals is very important. I was at a meeting also, I'm not going to say the name, a county supervisor. And he's saying all the problems the county has, and he says, I'm all out of ideas. He told the people that. He said, I'm all out of ideas. I don't have any more ideas. So I say, sir, I had an idea. How about you let people do what they want as long as they don't harm somebody, their property? And he did a right over his head. His position is that we have authority because this piece of paper says so. Well, let me ask you this. Where do your rights come from? Hello? Creator? Anything else? Then make sure that guy reads some Rothbard and some Spooner. Creator, God, source. If you don't believe in that, you're humanity, okay? The fact that you're a conscious being on earth is significant. And this is not a new idea from 2024. They've been known as back in the old days with the Greeks and the Romans and the Egyptians and the Africans. Man, to be a living soul, this is a big deal. But they didn't tell you that because then they know how important you are. Would it be okay if I showed you that you are a billionaire right now? Would that be okay? Okay. How much do you value your eyesight? If I offered you $1 million, would you sell me your eyeballs right now? How about $10 million? $100 million to sell me your eyeballs. Would you sell them to me? $1 billion. You sell them to me? All the money on the earth, would you sell me your eyesight? How about your ears? How about your touch? How about your ability to taste and smell? Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters of planet Earth, let me tell you, you are worth more than all the money on the planet by your own admission right now. So that means if I give you $1 million cash and I say, sell me your eyeballs, you're not going to sell it to me, correct? We're rich right now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's forget the fiat. Let's understand the individual inside of us. We are so abundant right now. Napoleon Hill was mentioned a couple times. I love this guy. His prayer, I just discovered this prayer. He says, God, help me better use the wealth that you gave to me at birth. Ooh, give it up for yourself. Billionaires and trillionaires on the planet, man. You guys are wealthy. We are wealthy individuals. And then I got some good news. So much stuff to talk about. My gosh. Okay. 2024, we are in the evolution of freedom. Maybe 500 years ago, the monarchy was a legitimate position. I'm the king, the head of the state and head of the church. You disagree with me? Off with your head. That was his authority. And then Magna Carta came along, and the barons said, hey, King John, we have rights too, so give us our rights or we're going to decapitate you. He says, okay, you guys have rights, okay. And then Declaration of Independence, 1776. How many of you guys have read the Declaration of Independence? How many have not? Okay, homework number 2, optional, voluntary. Where does the government derive its just powers? From the consent of the governed. So if you don't consent to the city, county, state, and federal governments, then do they have authority over you? They do not. And this is the discovery. So it goes from the monarchy to statism, or the constitutional republic, and now we're moving to voluntarism, or voluntary living. This is the phases that we're at. So you got to understand historically where we're at. And we didn't just get here in the last 4 years. It got pretty intense the last 4 years, and we were pretty well aware of the totalitarianism around us, but this has been going on for a while. And what I see is that humanity is bifurcating. Freedom people are coming here, and enslaved people are going somewhere else. And we wish them peace and love, but if they're not suspicious of what's going on right now, I don't know what to tell them. We tried to wake them up. We tried to show them the facts. Out in Santa Cruz, after, this is maybe 6 months into the pandemic, we realized that some people don't even care about the facts. So we started doing free hugs 1 hour a week. So me and my friends, we have signs out there, free hugs. Sometimes we have the band out there, and mostly it was very positive. Free hugs, people coming up. Some people haven't been hugged in 6 months, and they're like coming up with the mask, and they're like, what church are you guys a part of? And we're like, we're not part of a church. We just believe in peace and love. Oh, she hugs us, and she's crying. Her kids are, yeah, hug them. And we found out that some people are so mentally damaged from the statism in the school system, the media, and the culture, everything else, that we say, here's the fact, what's going on, and they say, no, I'm not interested. You guys are killing grandma. You guys are destroying these things. So we just send them peace and love. And you know what I discovered? They come up, you guys are out here giving free hugs? Yeah. You guys are, this is a pandemic. I say, I send you peace and love. And sometimes they receive it, sometimes not. But you know what I discovered? I'm the one who gets the benefit because I'm generating agape love inside of me. Did you know there's different types of love? The Greek taught me that there's 8 types of love, and there's, of course, romantic love and family love and self-love. But agape love is love of everybody. So I didn't hear that from the men in my family very often. My mom expressed love. Thank you, Mom, I love you. But as men, we love too. We're young boys, we feel that too. But unless someone says it, then we don't know. So now I try to say that to my brothers and sisters. I love them because you know what's the most important day of your life? Today. There is no tomorrow, my friends. And if you guys have attended funerals, you know the preciousness of life. So this is, again, the secret, is present moment consciousness. Someone else mentioned George Orwell. You heard his quote? He who controls the past controls the future. And he who controls now controls the past. Now, that takes some time to think about that. Well, how does that work? Because they changed the history books. And so if they can make fake news and then put it in the fake history books, now they can say, look, There was never freedom. There was never this no permits for building your roof or putting a garden in or traveling and all these things. Now you think you got to get permission for every God-given right that the Creator has given to you. But no more. The Great Awakening is here. And I want to share with you what I think about the Great Awakening. It's not a specific term. The Great Awakening, I think, is the Great Self-Ownership Awakening. Because the Great Awakening is still too vague. Awaken to what? Self-ownership. So this is why I really hammered that down, because once I discovered self-ownership, once I discovered that I'm a king, and you're a king, and you are the queens, and we are all sovereign individuals, I got liberated. And I started attending these other events, and I think I stopped paying taxes or at least filing, like in 2015, because one of my favorite songs is by Michael Jackson. It says, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. It's so easy to blame everybody, blame the politicians, blame those guys. But how about me? What am I doing? How am I contributing to this? I'm giving them money, I'm participating in it, and also I became a right to travel activist. I put private plates on my car because I'm like, once you see what's going on, mass murder called war, robbery called taxes, I'm like, what is happening, guys? And as a man or as a leader, as a son of God, how can I solve this situation? So I heard someone mention earlier, but there's a quote by Buckminster Fuller, which is, you never change reality by fighting against the existing model. You got to create a new model that makes the old model obsolete. Statism is going down, ladies and gentlemen. They're going obsolete. This is true. This is true. Y'all with me? Y'all with me? Yeah. Did you guys see the recent interview with Jordan Peterson and Michael Malice? Oh yeah, here we go. Check it out. It just happened the last few weeks. Michael Malice was talking about voluntary relationships, and Jordan Peterson, God bless you, brother. You're almost there, man. He says, so why do you correlate voluntary interaction with anarchy? And Michael Malice says, well, that's the key principle. And then Jordan says, oh yeah, that's the principle. And then Michael Malice says, welcome to anarchism. It's a very funny clip. But due to marketing and branding and imaging, I actually stopped using the word anarchy because it has been bastardized in the media. So a lot of people think anarchy is vandalism, right? So they link the words. We're going to talk about conscious language here in a second, but they say anarchy and chaos. But actually what it is anarchy and peace. The chaos, they mean vandalism and chaos, immorality and cowardice and chaos. So this is the inner game, right? This is the inner part of the inner responsibility of each one of us, is how am I participating in it, and what really is the solution here? And I think it is discovering that you own your body and that the people around you own your body. Graham Hancock had a great quote too. Graham Hancock said, we don't need governments anymore. He said, if anything, they should have a limited amount of power. He said, if you're a leader and you're not talking about unity and love, you are disqualified from leadership. Would you agree with Graham Hancock? So I just came across a book last year called Conscious Language by a guy named Robert Tennyson Stevens. Anybody heard of him? Robert Tennyson Stevens? I know, this guy. God bless you, Robert. Rest in paradise, brother. I interviewed him, and he helped me to understand that when he's kind of like, you heard the quote, I'm not anti-war, but I'm pro-peace. So this is why I'm trying to no longer use the non-aggression principle as the moral code, because non-aggression means I'm against aggression, which I am, but I'm actually for respecting your self-ownership. I'm actually for respecting your peace. So to use language is very important. Sterling mentioned the George Orwell and the language stuff. What Tennyson says is that language is the operating system of our mind. He says language shapes our consciousness. So now I try to stop saying, you have to do this, I have to do this, I get to do this. If this is the most beautiful day of my life, which I believe it is to be here with you presently, then I should be aware of that and understand there is no guarantee, so I get to do this. I get to participate in this. I get to help parents remove their kids from the school system. I get to share these truths with people, and when you have language that's being controlled by the media, you get enslaved. Do you guys know the root word of government? Gubernare mente, control the mind. I think Christoph said that. Jason Christoph said that the other day too. Do you see his presentation? Mind control? Oh, beautiful presentation, man. So, the empires of the future are the empires of the mind. And someone mentioned slavery. Slavery's still happening right now. It's called government. It's called statism. If back in the day, physical slavery is they take 100% of your money or your labor, then at what percent is it not slavery? 99%? 50%? Right now, 30%? So this is the big red pill that was hard to swallow for me because, again, it's like, no, government's there to protect you. And you keep repeating it. You keep repeating it. So as Jason mentioned, we just got to repeat positive things and put ourselves in an environment where we're repeating what we want. How many of you guys want more health, abundance, love, and connection in your life? Yes, that's right. Affirm that for yourself. You guys would be impressed at the affirmations that I say every morning because I'm starting to realize I'm the programmer for myself. I've been in government schools. I got a business degree from college. I got, God bless my family members. They're well-intending people. But you know why my parents couldn't tell me about self-ownership in the churches and the schools? You know why they couldn't tell me about that? Because they didn't know. They didn't know these things. And in the school system, if they taught me about morality, you know how fast a child can identify incongruency? Right? So you imagine teaching a 7-year-old about morality. In fact, I should tell you the story about Rosalind Ross before I do. Rosalind Ross is a voluntary parent, and she tells a story of teaching her 5-year-old son about self-ownership. So before she picks up her son, she says, "Can mommy pick you up?" He says, "Yeah, mommy picks me up." Well, one day they go to a family reunion, and an uncle comes along, and he tries to pick up the 5-year-old son, and the son slams his elbow down and says, "Hey, you need permission to pick me up." And the uncle takes a step back, says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Is it okay? Do I have permission to pick you up?" And the 5-year-old says, "No, thank you." And he just runs off. Give it up for a 5-year-old expressing of self-ownership. This concept I call intergenerational freedom. Okay, I mentioned this whole thing's been going on for many generations and centuries. So rather than panic, I think it's important we have a long-term vision, a big dream, and also a short-term dream. But intergenerational freedom, how I define that, is the transfer of the knowledge of the truth of self-ownership. So we already admitted that everybody here owns their body, everybody watching online, everybody on the planet, you guys own yourself. So this is a big secret. So if we can transfer this idea to the next generation, then we can actually prepare the second, the third, the fourth, the 7th generation, wherever's going on, because when you plant seeds, you don't get fruit right away, right? You got to wait 3 years, 5 years, 8 years. How many guys have planted a seed in the last couple of years? Excellent. How many have not? Okay, good. All right, we're there. Last year, Derek had a great word, which was, this is the year activation, and go apply this stuff and come back. Well, what I did, I went and started a garden. And like Rebecca, the caterpillars got my garden too. But it just wasn't the caterpillars. It was the deer. It was the gophers. It was, who else? The rabbits. I think I have some rabbits out there. So I start to realize, there's a learning curve here. Wow, this is interesting. And I don't have to do it. I get to do it. Because you know what's going to happen? When we have independent food, water, energy, we're going to be totally free. And I heard Bill Gates say, without a digital ID, you won't be able to participate in society. And I can't wait to say, great, I don't want to participate in your society. I'm free. Give it up for freedom. Liberate yourself. Independent food, water, and energy. Hey, and then, see, because the school system, I was like, I looked at John Gatto's work and Charlotte Iserbyt and a lot of great people, Anthony Sutton, and the real purpose of the school system is to create obedient workers, clerks, consumers, and soldiers. And that's unacceptable and diabolical. I recommend every parent remove your child immediately if possible. But then the question is how come they didn't teach me to grow my own fruits and vegetables? Well, you know why? Because if they teach me how to grow my own fruits and vegetables, do you think I'm going to go eat their Doritos? Do you think I'm going to go eat their food? No. So by teaching us independent food skills, it destroys their food business. I said, oh, Lordy. So I start to connect it all. This is why the school system is so diabolical. So this is why at a young age you want to teach the young people, because I think it's probably going to take me a few years to learn how to grow my fruits and vegetables. Also some positive news. Sorry for the vegans out here, but I did kill a chicken this last year for the first time. Anybody ever harvest your own meat out here? How many have not harvested their own meat? Wow. So I paid this lady, God bless her, and we hung this chicken upside down, and my kid, I don't know if I can say this or not, but I cut the chicken's neck, and that happens, and I put it in hot water, and then I plucked the chicken, and then did the little cuts there, and I put my hand into the carcass of the chicken, and she's done this a lot. This is my first time doing this, okay? And she says, "Can you feel the heart? Can you feel the lungs?" And at that moment, my hand's in this chicken, and I'm like, just give me a second here. I'm having a spiritual moment. I feel like a Native American. I'm connected to my food for the first time. Every single chicken that I ever eaten has had this happen to them. So I was finally realizing why the Native Americans have the rituals for the bears, the rituals for these animals that they eat, because they say, the eagle, that's my brother. The bear, that's my brother. So they're connected to source and to nature, and it was very empowering. So this idea of, independent food, water, and energy, entertainment, and everything, this is a big idea. Got it. And we're going to do it, guys. This is what's happening. This is what's so exciting. You guys see some of the independent food presentations the last couple days? Yes. Beautiful, man. This is the new skills that we're learning here. Thank you. I have some good news also. In the 2016 election, we know who won, but do you know who really won? Were the people who didn't participate in the elections. Because there was the 29% for the winner, 28% for the next guy, and then 40% for the people who didn't participate in politics. Give it up for the non-voters out there. And, again, to get specific with language, you guys do vote, actually. You vote with your dollars. It's the free market in commerce. You vote with your attention. This is the most important thing. So they have all these stories to grab your attention and to get you disempowered. But once you start to realize the real numbers and the real data, you become very empowered and you become very strong. And I was at another meeting. God bless these constitutionalists, okay? I was at another meeting, and this sweet soul, she says, I don't even look at the bills in California anymore because we can't do anything about it. I said, oh, God bless you. You can't do anything about it. Why don't you just give up now? Why don't you just depress everybody in the room? Well, I believe is what Sun Tzu said about the supreme art of war is to defeat your opponent without even fighting. So that's what's happened. If you feel despair, if you feel no hope on the planet, you've been conquered. So I invite you to consider, to imagine that you're connected to Source, you're connected to the Almighty inside of you, and that you are the chosen one in your family. You are the hope of your family, and you're the hope of this community. So this community continues to grow, but as you get connected, you realize that your power, the power of one, is big. And God bless Martin Luther King. He didn't get there, but he was close to voluntarism. But look what he did by not participating. Look what Gandhi did by not participating. And they all got arrested multiple times. In Gandhi's situation, he was trying to get arrested. They were, I don't know if you know this, but you weren't even allowed to sell salt in India when the British were ruling over there. So they did not participate. And they're like, yeah, let's get 10,000 people in the jails, And they had a badge of honor, which was, how long did you go to jail? Oh, you're only there for a few months? Oh, man, get some respect around here. So at some point, you got to choose what you're going to dedicate your life to. What mountain are you going to devote your spiritual and physical energy to? Because I got news for everybody here. In 100 years, we're not going to be here. But you can plant seeds. But you can have an impact. But as Lysander Spooner has inspired me from 150 years ago, that's a book. So the power of media now is, as Rob Hustle told me, comedy, music, and film. And this is where we can change culture, because politics is downstream of culture. So when you're trying to change the world, politics is one way, and I don't want to defecate on people that are participating in the political process, okay? You're taking action, I appreciate it. I was a Ron Paul guy in 2012, and I was out there canvassing Ron Paul, and then I saw how they treated him on the debates. I saw how they treated him in the elections. He raised all this money from the military. He got 90 seconds on the debate, and Romney got like 17 minutes. I'm like, this thing seems kind of rigged, man. This thing seems a little bit unfair. So changing the world, I think, is not the political process. It's taking a look at the man in the mirror. And this is where we get very excited, because you get to choose how you live your life and what you put your energy into. So rather than feeling like you have to do something, you get to do something. You realize how precious that you are and that you are protected. And I'm glad someone mentioned Terrence McKenna, Sterling, is that I invite you to consider taking a heroic dose of psilocybin. Give it up for psilocybin. He says, take 5 grams of mushrooms in your room by yourself in the dark. I did that, man. Changed my life, man. I was talking to my ancestors, talking to God, and I started to realize, man, that my soul is infinite. And if any of you guys have read The Prince by Machiavelli, he says he was teaching rulers how to control his subjects. He says, use their religion against themselves. My gosh, so this was 500 years ago, 600 years ago. So these are the ideas we're starting to break out from the kind of the elite libraries or the elite, oh man, God, changed the word elite. Thank you, I said that. I've heard that before. The word elite, these guys are not elites, okay? Let's consider the idea of calling them predator psychopaths. You know who are elite are the people that lead with love, the people that lead with joy, the people that dedicate their life to a cause bigger than themselves. And I guess that would probably be everybody in this room, because you see what's going on in the world, and there is nothing to fear, except you guys might have heard of the regrets of dying. I don't know if I can remember all 5 of them. Let's try. This nurse interviewed people in their last 8 weeks of dying. And we're all going to be there someday. Let's have a long life, 90 or 100 years. Let's go for it. And the regrets of dying is that I didn't live a life true to myself. Or I regret that I didn't live a life true to myself, and I lived a life what other people told me to do. I wish I would have expressed my feelings more. I wish I would have let myself be happier. I wish I wouldn't have worked so much. And I wish I would have stayed in contact with my friends. Those are the 5 regrets of dying. So if you have that in perspective, right, as Stephen Covey says, start with the end in mind, then you'll be free. You'll be free to express yourself and not be tied down by any restrictions that you think you might have. Okay, so as we have our intentional neighborhoods. Let's talk about intentional neighborhoods. I interviewed a guy named Tag Meyer because I had this dream to have this land and have intentional community, but similar with the educational schools called Sudbury schools, which I respect, but it's a kind of a democratic model and a consensus model, and a lot of times they spend their times in meetings all day. So what Tags does is he has a place in Kansas, he has 40 acres, and he has a neighborhood. So there's not a community per se on his land, but he has neighbors. And in he calls it a crew, which is within about 5 miles of his house. He has about 70 people in his crew. And then he calls the next level a mag, which is like 200 miles. And he says he has 1,100 people within 200 miles of him. So when his neighbor accidentally caught his land on fire, do you think they called the fire department? No, they didn't. They're fully independent. So he texts his little emergency group, and all these people come along, and they grab their ATVs, they grab their tanks, they're spraying out the water, and within 30 minutes or an hour or so, the whole fire is extinguished. And so his neighbor isn't actually one of his freedom friends, but he said, next time my fire burns your crops, we'll have an exchange. But the thing is that he burned some firewood and some crops, and they made a trade in exchange. So we can figure this stuff out, and he's been doing it for years. His YouTube channel is Life Done Free. So you might consider taking a look at his situation there. Now, one of the questions we have in a voluntary world without the state is how we deal with conflict in courts, right? This is a very important question. I mentioned For a New Liberty by Murray Rothbard. This is a great resource. I recommend you take a look at that. But in conflict resolution, first of all, humans, we are beautiful also. We have a lot of difficulties and traumas and challenges inside of us. There's going to be conflict. So it's not if there's going to be conflict, it's when there's going to be conflict. So I mentioned the free hugs, but there was one conflict that I wanted to share that was kind of small, but I think relevant to the conversation. I was on a little road trip with my mom, who I love, and we were out there we getting some gas, and we grabbed some little snack, and I was being fully expressed with my mom, and then some I think some college-age dudes were there in the gas station, and I was kind of being loud, and I could hear them like mocking me and being loud, and I kind of looked at them like this, and I was like, forget those guys. And then I went to pump my gas outside, and I could see the truck coming like this. I said, I'm not going to start anything. I'm going to stay silent, right? And they drove up, and they said something out there, and I just turned around to them. I said, I send you peace and love. I send you peace and love. You know what they said? They said, peace and love to you. Peace and love to you back. So it's like, how did that happen? Because I was preparing my heart that I don't want conflict with these dudes. I don't want drama with these dudes, but I came from a sincere place of sending these guys peace and love. I'll give you another example. In Santa Cruz, we had a situation with conflict, and there was a community member who didn't want to be, cohesive with the group, and I'm not part of the group. And so I said, okay. I brought one person on and said, okay, this is what's going on. And I brought another person on, and I said, okay, this guy's not participating. And so I kicked him out of the Facebook group. Well, that was a mistake because they said, man, that was not nice of you to kick him out of the Facebook group. I said, he's putting the community at risk. So I learned if I have conflict, I bring one person, I say, here's the conflict, let's resolve the conflict. I bring one person. And then I bring two people, have a direct conversation. Three people, direct conversation. And eventually, I can see if I'm in the right or if they're in the right, but whatever it is, we don't need a monopoly organization to come give justice when the jail, the prison system has over 60% of nonviolent offenders. This is not about justice. This is about mass incarceration, mass enslavement for the prison industrial complex. So these little ideas can stop people from working together when in reality, we got to deal with our own stuff. So conflict is a part of being human, and if we try to avoid it, then I think we're being kind of naive with it. We got to lean into it. If you see something brewing, go address it right then, because many of us have traumas. Many of us come from, difficult lives. Life's challenging in general. So this is why I try to find the goodness in things. I try to find the good in every situation. But still, we have as Carl Jung says, the shadow. And he has a great quote too. He's a Swiss philosopher or psychiatrist. He says, man is the great danger. We know nothing about him. We must study him. And what that means is study yourself. The foundation of all philosophy is self-knowledge. So this is why I realized that the great self-ownership awakening is the great awakening inside myself, is discovering the infinite soul and being that's inside of me. And Alex the comic had a great joke the other day, which is like, he said, when you bump into somebody, you're bumping into yourself. And when you hug somebody, you're hugging yourself. And that's some high-level stuff, but there's something there, I feel. If you put down the realities or the physicalities of this realm, it's like, wow, we are spirit. And we are this ability to create and affect other beings. The Hopi Indians said, every word you speak echoes in eternity. Ooh, that hit me big too. Also, Tennyson says, breath, your words is the Spirit of God. So I'm trying to be more conscious of what I speak, because what I speak actually is holy or sacred or more powerful than I realize. How many of you guys have heard of Dr. Emoto, the water scientist? Nice. How many have not heard of Dr. Emoto? Okay, Dr. Emoto he spent his whole life studying water. Okay, and he put labels on the water, and one was love, and one was hate, and one was indifferent. And then he froze there's water crystals under a microscope, huge, powerful microscope, and under the word love It said, well, it didn't say, it was a symmetrical design, very beautiful design. Under the image for hate was very asymmetric and ugly. And then indifferent was kind of also ugly, but not as ugly as the hate one. So he proved that words and thoughts change our physical reality. And this is not woo-woo, this is science. And you can go look that up, and there's other water scientists as well. And we're living at very exciting time to realize that our attentions have power, our words have power, our actions have power, and they've been suppressing this for so long, and they're not going to suppress it anymore. We're going to manifest freedom in this lifetime, brothers and sisters. A few more things to share here. There's a couple opportunities to work with me. I mentioned movies. I just got connected with a former Hollywood director about making a film. And did any guys see the Sound of Freedom movie? Okay. So they got I think it was 25x on their return because the American people in the world are hungry for truth. So anyway, we have a great story, a Romeo and Juliet action story. If you're interested in investing, we're looking for $250K. Please email me at info@davidjamesrodriguez.com. That's one opportunity. Also, I mentioned the Santa Cruz Voluntarius. We did some amazing events over there, and ATN was there, a huge leader and powerful contributor to that. We have a lot of great footage, too. I hope to release that footage of the cop encounters. He's really great at talking with cops. But we want to make a documentary about what we did down there. So we have all this raw footage. If there's a volunteer video editor or someone who has some type of editing skills, please let us know about that. Again, info@davidjamesrodriguez.com. The safety is another concern. A couple minutes here before I go. How many have heard of Threat Management Center out of Detroit, Michigan? How many have not heard of Threat Management Center? Excellent. Okay, so in your community, you're going to want to be safe, yes? Yes. So this guy, Dale Brown, he created a voluntary, he doesn't even call it private security. It's kind of what it is, but he doesn't call it. It's a threat prevention organization. So I flew out there and saw his organization, and he started with a dog and a gun in Detroit. And was protecting this commercial complex. Now he has 30 employees. He went super viral on the internet. And in Detroit, Michigan, if you call 911, guess how long it takes for the cops to come? Yeah, 2 hours. It's about 4 hours, okay? So even in the middle class, upper class area. So what he did is he went around and got these neighbors, and they pay him $10 a month. And so when there's a strange person in their neighborhood, they call up Dale Brown. He shows up within 4 minutes. And he says hello when he has a really great technique. So anyways, that was my question is, what about the cops, right? If we have no government, what about the cops? Well, there's voluntary organizations that exist, and Dale Brown Threat Management is one of those organizations. Also, a very powerful thing is a book called The Hero of 1,000 Faces. Joseph Campbell. Anybody heard of Joseph Campbell? Anybody not heard of Joseph Campbell? Okay. He studied so many myths and religions. And he discovered, well, as many philosophers have, we're trying to describe the great mystery of existence. Where did we come from? What are we doing here? And where are we going? And he discovered that the myths are describing you and me. And he has a great series. Well, there's a great film called Finding Joe. And then his series with Bill Moyers, it's 6 or 7 hours long. And it goes through some of these things. And you know what one of the takeaways is? Guess who is the hero in your life? Who is? Put your hand on your heart with me, please. Say, I'm the hero of my life. I'm the leader. I'm responsible. Turn to your neighbor, give him a 5 and say, yes, you're the leader. So in conclusion, the two fundamentals of voluntary living. You own yourself. This is a self-evident truth. And you respect the other individuals next to you. The 5 steps for freedom is you liberate yourself from mental slavery. If government's illegitimate, then you're the highest authority over yourself. Number 2, you celebrate this liberation. You celebrate that you're free. You celebrate that you are the king and queen of your life. And number 3, you create. Once you become liberated from this mental slavery called gubernare mente, and you celebrate this, now you get to create. I invite you to consider writing, doing podcasts, connecting, doing comedy, making movies, doing art, growing food, whatever it is that excites you, whatever it is that enlightens you and encourages your soul, please do that. And then it's exit and build. Number 4 is exit and build. Because John and Derek are such visionaries, they're out in front, and it's like, man, how am I going to get out there? I don't have $1 million. I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't need that. You liberate yourself. You celebrate that you're free. You start creating however you can create, and you exit whatever you can exit. I think what they're going to do, they're going to use food as they did with the whole pandemic to lock down food. And I'm still going to the grocery store, and I'm like, man, I'm pretty vulnerable right now. So I'm trying to learn these things. I'm going to places to find independent food sources. I'm going to meet the farmers. I'm going to meet the ranchers. It's going to take, give it up for the ranchers and the farmers. It's going to take some personal initiative. It's going to take getting out your comfort zone. For a long time, brothers and sisters, we've been asleep at the wheel, and hey, we're victims of the state, and it's no longer that time anymore. It's time to take personal responsibility of our lives. We're here. We can do it. There's an amazing community here. There's freedom cells online, and so I invite you to look at what is around you, what your resources are, and mainly the people that are around you. Get phone numbers, get emails, and start building relationships with these people. You can join. I have a Facebook group called Voluntary Living Villages on Facebook. I'd like to find another platform, but this is where I'm at right now. I know people are on Telegram as well. I think I have a group on there, Voluntary Village Creators. But this is what's happened, ladies and gentlemen, is that now is the time to take personal responsibility, to liberate ourselves, to think about the children, and to fully express yourself. And have full faith and courage that you chose this, that you are here, you are the hero of your own journey, and that it's all going to work out beautifully. And yes, we're probably going to go through the reset, because all fiat currencies ultimately go to their true worth, which is zero. The dollar's going down. They know it. But you know what? We're preparing for it, and they can't move too quickly. So they're setting up these systems, but God bless these guys, you know. I think I might have heard John say it, but like, hey, thanks for doing this, Klaus Schwab, so we all can get together, because now we see what you're doing. Bless you guys all in Davos. We don't hate you. I don't hate you, at least. I send you peace and love. I send you the divine love that's inside of me. I don't have any hate towards you. This is what the life is, so I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful that I can have this type of experience and to dance and to laugh and to have the highest joy that we can, to be here in Morelia, Mexico, and practicar mi español. And other than that, ladies and gentlemen, my name is David James Rodriguez. It's been an honor to be with you. I hope to see you soon. Join us at Voluntary Living, the group online, and we'll see you very soon. Thank you so much. Bless you. I love you.
Let's make some more noise for David. Come on.